welcome to Association Transformation. This is episode 98. Oh, we're only 2 away from our century. Oh, unfortunately, however, I'm flying solo today in terms of hosting because unfortunately, Elisa is not able to be with us. And just on a personal note, I just want to send out some love to Elisa, and I'm sure you're listening. I just want to let you know we're all thinking about you here at the Association Transformation team. You are missed. You are missed, but in your absence this week, I am delighted to have 2 very special guests joining me. Earlier this week, on Monday, in fact, we're recording this on a Friday afternoon, but on Monday this week, I had the pleasure, the privilege of being invited to speak at the Association's Day for Dallas-Fort Worth Association Executives Network, and I had the very, very good privilege of meeting today's guests, who I think it's fair to say volunteered, cajoled, strong-armed into joining me this afternoon on the pod, and I'm delighted that they're here. We've got, joining us, we've got Vicki Reece, who is the Executive Director for the Professional Insurance Agents of Texas. And we've also got, I know you're looking at me now, Kevin, to make sure that I say this right without an accent, Kevin Korenthal. You tell me if I've got that right.
That's good. That's very good.
Brilliant. The Executive Director of the National Association of Park Foundations. Now, welcome to Association Transformation, you guys. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm guessing you guys are seasoned DFWAE members. Is that right? Have you been members of the network for a while, or was this your first? Was Monday your first?
I think I've been a member since 2019.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
I've been a member on and off for several years.
And did you think?
And a member of ASAE.
Oh, so. We're all members of ASAE.
Yes.
I think it's obligatory when you join an association as a staffer, you have to get your credentials as an ASAE member.
Yes.
So in terms of Monday's event, which I thought was an excellent, I was going to say production, but I didn't really mean production, but I thought it was a really nice, balanced program. I thought, it was really good to see so many people there. It was good to really, from my perspective, see that you guys are such a tight-knit network in Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, that's what I was looking at, but I observing as a relative outsider. Is that fair, Vicki? Are you a tight-knit group in Dallas from Fort Worth?
I think the group is. Unfortunately, I've not been part of it on a regular basis, but I do like to go to their conventions. They're very, very good.
Yeah. So, sir, I'll tell you, Andrew, serving on the marketing committee and having co-led CAE study groups, I've gotten to know so many of the folks. And as far as like local regional association conferences go, I thought this year's was excellent.
Yeah. It was interesting for me because, obviously I know that you guys have your state chapters, and I know that I met Steve, the chief executive of the Texas Society of Association Execs, but it's quite unusual for me to be working or to be invited to speak at a regional chapter, if you understand what I mean. Because I mean, you guys are you're not a chapter of TSAE, is it? DFWAE stands alone, isn't it?
Own organization, yeah.
So is the network, is the association sector?
I hadn't even thought about that. Are there? I mean, is this rare? Because I didn't, prior to 2019, I wasn't involved in any association. So yeah, I know as little about that as you do.
Well, it might be a Texas thing actually, because I think there is a Houston Association Executives Group, isn't it?
Houston.
I'm saying it. If it was you, that's what it would be called.
Well, the nice thing about the chapters is if you're taking your CAE update or you're studying to be a CAE, you have all of the different chapters that contribute to the education. So you can take your hours in a number of places, whether it's at the national level or your local level, like DFWAE, which made the convention really important to me. Not only that, but the agenda was exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I see. So CAE hours were attached to the DFWAE. Is that right? You're saying on Monday you were getting your hours in?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. I don't think I realized that. All right. I probably would have done a better job for you if I'd known that that your credentials were attached to it. So for you guys, Kevin, we'll start with you. What was, a bit other than the amazing afternoon session on strategy and innovation, which we're going to talk about extensively in our next podcast. What was the kind of key highlights for you? What were the kind of key takeaways from Monday?
Well, I always love getting together with the folks that I've met over the years. I think the programming is good. I think that I personally I would like to see more folks like myself that are practitioners do lead, because that's really what the past has been. Practitioners like myself, executive directors, CEOs have led more of the programming in the past. I think the
Yeah.
suppliers
Mhm.
doing that is great too. And it's a fantastic opportunity for them to show folks what they know and what they can do. But I mean, the programming this year is as far as what was put together, I thought was incredible. But I will always say, number one, I'm there to see my friends. Number
Yeah.
two, get my hours, and number three, maybe learn something, right?
Yeah. I must admit, I mean, and, I'm saying this as a supplier to the industry, but I was quite surprised that I think was every session delivered by, at least in part, by a vendor. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that normal? Is that normally what happens, or is that a one-off this year?
Well, I mean, with only a couple of years of experience, I can't say what's normal, but like I said, for me personally, I'd like to go see another CEO, maybe someone who's more advanced in their career, present on something. That's really going to be of value to someone in my position, where I'm more of a newer to the CEO role.
Right. Okay. Vicky, what about you? What were your kind of?
In the past, you have seen more consultants and other CAEs. In particular, several years ago, I had the opportunity to listen to the woman that used to be the executive director for TSAE give a presentation on how to be a new CEO of an association, which was very good. But what I was looking for in particular at this one was the two topics that I spent my time concentrating on, and that was data informed associations and, of course, strategic planning, which is, to me, the issue that most of us need to know more about on a regular basis, because we are innovating with our strategic planning. Things are coming more quickly into all of our environments, not only from an association standpoint, but from an industry standpoint as well.
And I think that it's actually, I didn't realize that you'd gone to the data session in the morning, but actually I can see how those two marry up quite nicely actually. And it's interesting that more and more I am getting a sense now within the sector that more and more people are appreciating that we need to be making, data-led decisions, when we're creating our strategies and making those decisions around investments. We want to be making informed, evidence-led decisions. And was that, I mean, I think, was it Bill Conforti, I think, ran that session, doesn't he, the data session? Was that
Yes.
was that the sort of was that the takeaway from it? Or was it, was the focus very much on data-led decision making, or was it a different sort of angle to it?
It was how to be a data informed association.
Ah, right. Okay. So it's across the board then, everything.
Across the board, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you a
I
data?
mean, as someone who has grasped technology as a tool since the beginning of my career, I can tell you that the point of having an association management system, for instance, that can spit out demographics and data and metrics for you, I think is incredibly important. With the advancements of AI, obviously AI needs information to be able to do what it can do for you. Having data and knowing what data is most important and what is junk, I think, are key probably to where successful associations are going to be going into the future.
Do you think, though, that it's interesting? I'm going to pick up on a point that you said, having sort of embraced technology. Do you think, as an industry, as a membership sector, do you think we have embraced technology as creatively and as robustly as we could, or do
I
you
doubt it. I doubt. I
No,
mean,
no.
we're doing things, but I'm
Yes.
not sure we're nowhere near some other fields that have been more ingrained in technology for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
It's always going to be internet-based companies that are going to have the edge on the use of data. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean we can't get there though, but
Yeah.
they obviously, because of the technology that they employ, they're far more advanced than where we are. But I'm hoping we can get there.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm interested. I'm thinking, I absolutely applaud the idea of a data-informed association at every level, at every single level. And the more, the more that we can work with data, well, with what's the word I'm looking for? The more that we can use data that is, synced across all our activities, membership through to management, through to financials, et cetera, the better. But again, in your opinion, Vicky, when in that session where we were talking about data-informed associations, was technology even was it touched on? Was it or was it assumed that we've already got the technical infrastructure to underpin, data-led decision making?
Well, I think for the most part, a lot of us, like Kevin said, are trying to get there. Some of us know a little bit more than others. Some of us are, for instance, my association, which is nationally based, has affiliates all over. We all work with different association management systems. We all collect different data. So, really being able to pull all that together and then take it to the top to then create that strategic plan that's innovative and has the foresight that we need to move to the next level in such a ever-changing industry that insurance is critically important.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think AI is probably the spearhead I've noticed, because addressing specifically what Vicki, how she described her components as all using different technology to manage their memberships.
Yeah.
What is the technology that can take all of that disparate data and make it make sense? And that's the AI angle. And that's kind of where I've been going with. I do a lot of work for our members in strategic planning. And man, what a valuable resource AI has been in being able to comb through large amounts of data, like 500 surveys, and then be able to come up with key points in there that you can then go off on and start drilling down into what will eventually be the number of pillars that you're going to have your client concentrate on. So I'm a huge proponent of the technology, especially using AI. I can't wait to see where it's going to go in the future. And it's going to make more people who would otherwise not be able to operate within that technology field. It's going to invite them in there because it's very easy to use.
Yes, yes. Actually, when you've been using AI, I mean, we're kind of going off on a wee bit of a tangent, but when you've been using, but that's okay. That's what we do on association transformation. We just wing it. When you've been using AI to sort of do your data mining, and your analysis for developing strategic plans, are you finding that what's being churned out is it highlighting the discrepancies in the data, or is it showing that actually, members have got robust data?
Well, obviously you can't rely on AI completely. I still have to comb through individual responses so I can get a feel for where each participant in that survey is coming from. But I'll do that first, and then I'll run the data through AI. And I haven't seen, I mean, obviously, if there was one, and this is the thing I always point out is everyone thinks their responses are the most important. So if someone brings up only one person brings up an idea, that's probably not going to make it through the process. But if an idea is repeated a couple of times, for instance, let's say that 3 people in a series of maybe 75 surveys mention the new pickleball courts that they want to have put in. Well, that's going to come out. But if only one person said it, it might not have been that important. How would I determine if I didn't have AI? Would I have put the pickleball comment into the, as part of the narrative? So that's the question is, what are you really, you are trusting AI to come up with some sort of, determination on what's important and what isn't, which is why you can't remove the human angle from that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Sorry, I can feel us sinking into an AI conversation here. And I don't want next time, but what session actually, what session? Because Vicki, you went to the data session.
Mhm.
And Kevin, did you go to the data session or did you go to
I
one?
did. I really liked your session though.
Oh, you guys, I was going to do a full hour on this next week, but go on then.
And I appreciate the resource that you guys presented as well. I took a couple copies of your white paper and I'm
Oh,
sending that out to folks that are currently using AI for data analysis.
mhm.
I think that was a fascinating. I'd love to talk about that. That's a fascinating piece of work there, with a lot of great resources within it. You linked in your bibliography to all of the different studies and technology companies from which you researched
Mhm.
to make this white paper.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Well, I'm glad it's hitting the mark with people, because I think, and actually this is all linked to everything we're talking about here in terms of data and strategic planning, and for us, we wanted to make sure that when we wrote that white paper, that um that people were able to go into the strategic planning process with their eyes wide open, as it were. Tried to sort of what's the word, unveil the smoke screen that sort of lingers around artificial intelligence.
Make it less complicated.
Yes, exactly, and make people appreciate that it is accessible. Artificial intelligence is accessible. I mean, are you guys using AI, Vicki, yet, or are you kind of dabbling in it, or?
We're dabbling in it. We're in the midst of getting a contract with someone that's going to help us move a little bit faster and get a little bit more information so that we can, have a data informed strategic plan. That we're moving to do a new strategic plan. And interestingly enough, I think, I don't know whether the comment was made in your session or in the data informed session, is now moving from what's used to be a 3 to 5 strategic 3 to 5 year strategic plan to a 1 to 2 year strategic plan, because everything is just moving so quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, it was in our session we were talking about that. I mean, I wouldn't go. Oh, when people talk to me now and say, "Oh, we'd like a 5 year plan," I say, "Oh my goodness me," I can't even think what back in 2019, if I could have predicted what the world was going to look like over the next 5 years to
Right.
2024.
Yeah, how many strategic plans went in the trash can,
Oh my goodness.
I'm advising my clients 18 months to 3 years.
Yeah.
I want to make a strategic plan that can stand up for 3 years with minor modifications. Strategic doing rather than strategic planning is kind of I know it's not only a buzzword, it's a particular methodology
Mm.
that creates plans that have built within them the ability to make adjustments. As so you're gonna have metrics that are set. Once you meet a metric, you knock that one out, but you have more metrics standing ready to go that will build off of that success. Because
Yeah.
that's really ultimately what you want a strategic plan to do, is basically guide you to success. And
Yes.
if you get to a point where you've finished everything in the strategic plan, like you finished your dinner before everyone else does, but you still have to sit there and wait for the rest of the family to finish eating. That's the thing that I think we try to avoid. And again, that's all about AI and using data to figure out. So what are the unknowns that we don't know?
Yes.
AI gets us closer to being able to answer that question.
Yeah.
I think what we have to look at first is getting all of the people, all the volunteers on the boards to buy into the AI, the importance of it, the tool that it is, and not be a little bit intimidated by it
Sure.
right now.
Completely, because it is. If I mean, even writing that white paper, at some points I was thinking, "Oh my God, I just copious amounts of information," and I was feeling overwhelmed. And so I can have full empathy with somebody walking into a planning space and thinking, "Oh my God," and three-quarters of the room is talking about AI, and you're sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I can't even spell AI. Never mind,
Well, and every single, go online to all of the associations around the country and look at their agendas for their conference for the
Oh,
last year back and year forward. Everybody has AI on that agenda, and some even a very heavy amount of AI.
yeah. And I think we've learned, I think as a sector, we've learned our lessons from the past in terms of, and I think we spoke about this on Monday afternoon when we were talking in the strategy session. We were talking about, I gave that crude example about generative generative sort of oversight and creativity, and using social media and communications and technology and communications. But I think as an industry, we've learned our lesson there. And I think we are now, I am seeing far more, what's the word? Not technological acumen. I'm seeing more commercial acumen at board level a lot of the time, where people are recognizing, yes, we're a non-profit. Yes, we are here to reinvest into the membership. But to be able to do that, we have got to be creative in how we do it and how we work and how we develop our business and deliver our business. So I am seeing, and I think I'm hoping that we've learned our lesson, and that we continue as sector bodies, that we continue to stay on, at the very least, stay on the curve or ahead of the curve. Because I think, to my mind, it feels a wee bit like we're in the dial-up stage of artificial intelligence at the moment.
I'll have to say though, I feel like this technological advance, meaning the age of AI, has fewer troglodytes than previous generations. You remember people saying that, oh, this computer, the fax machine, this thing can't even do as much as a fax machine can. What are you talking about? Well, yeah, because it was at that point, computers were only basic word processors. But as time went by, those technologies grew. I don't hear as many people poo-pooing, if you will, the potential of AI. Now, there are people who have come to the forefront saying that AI is a potential danger, maybe a danger to the workforce, maybe a danger to national security or personal identification. That's why, using AI responsibly, and your white paper talks a lot about that, and the risk associated with AI is going to be a paramount conversation. And at some point, we have to switch from talking to people about how they can use AI to talking about how we can use it safely.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we will get to a point where AI is just, that's what we use. Sorry, Vicky, go on. You were going to say.
Well, the first thing we need to do is make sure that, we all have volunteers. They all have different, backgrounds. They may be in the same industry at different points. Their comfort level in coming in and actually doing that and accepting that and learning how to do that within the framework of a strategic plan, and the buy-in of using the data, constructively to help them form their vision for the future in their association, and what opportunities and challenges they're going to be faced with. I know my industry is moving at light speed right now, and moving very quickly towards AI in the insurance industry. But the board members, the people that are up there making the decisions, may not be using that in their businesses yet, but it's very important that they transition to that at an association level where you're leading components across the country.
Vicki was mentioning, specifically when the current generation that's completing their university time, as they're coming up into, you'd think the youngest generation would be the one to really grasp this technology. Well, let me just tell you, I'm in my undergrad degree program right now at Indiana State University, and AI is forbidden to be used. So one of the technologies I think that is probably going to be the biggest game changer in business is not being taught at university. In fact, it is being said that, there's policies that if I use AI, for instance, to assist me in writing an essay, I could be expelled from the program. So that's another area where I think, I just brought up that, and I was saying a minute ago, I know I'm kind of countering myself, the troglodytes are probably at the university level in not believing that that AI is something separate from an education, whereas we're all kind of going to be interdependent on data derived through AI.
Yes, I understand. I would assume the universities are banning it because of fears of plagiarism, are they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if AI wrote it, you didn't write it, is the thing.
Yeah. So it's not just plagiarism; it's actually about your own skill, as it were.
I think so. And plagiarism is a separate issue, but also, somewhat tied in there. I've actually had people say, your writing has really gotten a lot better lately, and I hadn't even used any AI on it, because now when I do take something and I run it through AI to smooth it out, I'm learning how to write better as a result of that. I always say I'm a great writer and a terrible editor. Well, I don't want that to be the case my entire life. So, I mean, AI is kind of teaching me to be a better writer at the same time.
I think Vicky's falling off her chair. She's like, what? Okay, look, let's talk. I want to talk. We've spent tons of time talking about AI, which I love, by the way, because and I think there's plenty more we need to talk about. But I also, I want to reflect more on Monday, and Monday's opening session. We had Jimmy Notter was talking about culture change made easy. Now, I thought it was a good session. I can't help but instinctively be skeptical when I see the heading culture change easy. It makes me think, oh no, there's nothing easy about
Easy for him.
Yeah,
I think, to comment on that, I think what I said to my colleague that I was there with was that what he gave was just a very small slice of what is a much larger presentation.
yeah.
That is part of the process that he pitches, obviously, to go in and be a consultant for culture. At the National Association of Park Foundations, much of what we do is in regard to culture. We're helping establish or reestablish nonprofit organizations that must have a cultural relationship with their parks and rec agency. So we're constantly beating down on the idea of we need solid culture. We need to build things into this organization that ensure that, for instance, we're going to stay on mission, that we're going to, when we raise money, that money is going to be available to the agency to use it. The agency doesn't control us, but we share the same mission. And I really, it came home for me a lot of what he was saying. I mean, I think that to a degree, and probably much as your presentation went, Andrew, there's so much more to unpeel if you can spend a couple more hours looking at it.
Oh, easily. What did you think, Vicky, when when you sat there thinking, oh yeah, culture in the insurance industry, no problem, made easy.
Well, I think what I took away from it was, setting up the business or the association or whatever it may be, where there's a culture of being able to determine when he talked about the story he gave about one department needing to help another department, but that department was busy trying to meet their goals, their deadlines, and then didn't meet the other department's deadlines. That happens a lot. And so working more on that through that with different departments and not working in silos, I think is an important part of the culture. And the other thing that hit home to me too was being in an organization where people that are working with other people that are their people they report to, or the CEO of the company, or whoever it might be, that is really the person that's doing something at the base level. And so they have real-time experience on that, not feeling that they have the right to or feel comfortable to voice something that would make a major impact on the final decision for something.
Yeah.
That was another thing I took away.
Well said.
And I think culture can't be something that people feel is being done to them. If you can't feel that culture's been imposed on you, because you'll always push back. You'll always say, well, I don't, even if you do recognize it, you'll still say, I don't recognize it. If you've not been part of that, if you don't feel like you're part of the system. And for me, I was, making a lot of connections between what he was saying and, the principles around systems thinking. And I know, a lot, for many years we were saying, oh, we're not just a cog in a machine, but actually I am part of the system. And, if the part of the system begins to seize up, the rest of the system will falter. And, so I was making a lot of those connections between, culture and systems thinking and how better, we can, and actually, that example there, one department's got misaligned deadlines from another department, and yet we're all seemingly working toward the same objectives. Why are we not, better, more closely aligned in how we're working? That for me that really resonated in terms of, well, actually, when we're talking about culture, we need to be talking about it, in my opinion, and how I approach things is with a systems thinking hat on.
Well, and the challenge as far as culture is concerned in the nonprofit world is people who think in terms of the for-profit side, trying to apply things that are irrelevant to the nonprofit side. At the same time, we may be a nonprofit, but we're not a non-revenue. So yeah, then you have people on the other side, they're like, oh, we have to create so many silos and walls between us and the agency, that frankly, neither of us really know what the other side is doing.
Yeah.
So that's what culture, finding that happy place in between those two different ideas is where my life is right now with regard to the work I do.
I would think that perhaps that tension probably manifests most clearly between at leadership level between your volunteer boards and your professional staff. I think particularly if you're working in a trade association or a membership body that is coming from a heavily commercial, where you've got volunteers coming from a heavily commercial background, that is a tension that resonates quite significantly. I'm conscious of time. I can't believe we've been talking for half an hour already. It's like just gone. It's just Vicky, you're like, oh my God, it's been the longest half an hour of my life. Oh my God, when will this end? I thought Monday's strategy session was bad. This is even worse. No. So, final thoughts. Final thought. I loved being at DFWAE on Monday. I really appreciated the opportunity of being able to go across and go to my first one. I hope to be there as many years as I possibly can. But and for me, the key takeaway from the day was that looking at the conversations that have been had, the sessions that have been delivered, the conversations that we've just had, it strikes me that I know that this was a day focused around and for professionals living and working in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But the reality is, there wasn't anything I looked at and thought, why are they talking about that?
Yeah.
Everything on that program resonated with me and thought, yeah, those are the types of issues that we're talking about here in the UK. Those are the types of issues I know that colleagues are talking about in Australia, South Africa, continental Europe, Canada, all across the continental US. So, I mean, for me, it really struck that, and perhaps actually, if nothing else, it just sort of emphasized the need for, or the benefits of having, yes, yes, your regional entities, your state organizations, and in this case, a city network. But for me, it just said that actually, the more that we can connect on an international level, on a national level, on an international level, I think the more we can share, because fundamentally it's all just about sharing ideas and our skills and our expertise and our problems and sort of helping each other. And
It's all about networking. And
exactly. It's all it is, at the end of the day, we're just people and we're just trying to, make it up as best we can. But actually, if we can do that, if we can cross borders to do that, I love that. I mean, and although I know that people always kind of raise an eyebrow when I open my mouth in presentations in the US, people are like, oh, right, okay. Which part of Wisconsin is he from then? Right, okay. So Vicky, what was that was my takeaway. That was my big takeaway. What was your kind of big, when you were driving home at the end of the day, what were you sort of reflecting on?
Well, I think the last panel discussion, where the CEO of IAEE, I believe, talked about the fact that until 2026, we really aren't going to see attendance come back in full force like it was before, and that you need to think about quality versus quantity. And I really saw that in the program that day, that all of the sessions were excellent. I took a staff member with me. I attended the ones that, best suited what I do on a daily basis and sent her to the ones that suited her. She came back with a lot of great ideas. I came back with wonderful. It was one of the best days I've had for education. And I've already shared some of that stuff with some of my colleagues. I plan to share some more with it because we all work together and try to give each other ideas. And that was a great thing I took away, was being able to take things I can share with others.
Brilliant. Excellent. That's so good to hear. And Kevin, what are your kind of final reflections on the day?
Well, I think I continue to kind of, finish where I started in that. What I get out of conferences like this are those hallway conversations with colleagues. I heard several conversations. I overheard several conversations in regard to potential employment opportunities between different individuals and organizations. I've seen several of those types of relationships occur at the association level at DFWAE. Being able to share thoughts and the impression that one gets when they're in the different sessions, I think is invaluable, and has been great for my collection of knowledge. And I hope to be able to continue to attend the event every year. And I'm actually been looking at a couple of other, like Michigan does theirs, and I want to get to the TSAE one, just because the more opportunity that I have to gain knowledge and create collegiate relationships, the better I'm going to be at my work.
Yeah. Excellent. And look, and now, and here you are, less than a week later, and you're a part of the Association Transformation family, podcasting for
where do I go from here?
Exactly. There's only one way. And we should say this is Vicki's first ever podcast recording. So, congratulations. I'm glad, I'm pleased, I'm delighted it was on Association Transformation.
Thank you so much for having me.
You were very welcome. Thank you for joining. And thank you, Kevin, for joining us as well. I've really
appreciate it, Andrew.
The company. We're like some weird joke, a Welshman, a Welshman, a Californian, and a Texan walk onto a podcast and make magic together. I love it. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, both. I really appreciate your time. And hopefully Elisa will be back with us in a couple of weeks for episode 99. But we are now one step closer to our century, to being centurions. As always, if you have any ideas for a podcast, any conversations you want to hear, any guests you want to recommend, or if you want to come on the podcast yourself, then do just get in touch with me or get in touch with Elisa. And otherwise, until next time, as always, put your members and your mission first.